Barack Obama looks set to clinch the Democratic presidential nomination, but Hillary Clinton still shows no sign of giving up. So, what's next? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Imran Garda. Hillary Clinton said she will take the race for the Democratic presidential nomination a day at a time after winning in Puerto Rico. This follows Clinton's crushing victory over Barack Obama in the Caribbean U.S. territory. Clinton insists she is leading in the popular vote, but the victory appears hollow following the extremely low turnout and Barack Obama's near unstoppable lead in the number of superdelegates. Tom Ackerman has more.
As the latest primary results rolled in, Barack Obama made barely any mention of Hillary Clinton, except to predict her loyal support after he becomes the Democratic nominee.
And she is going to be a great asset when we go into November to make sure that we defeat the Republicans. That I can promise you.
But Clinton was making the most of her lopsided win over Obama in Puerto Rico.
You've defied the skeptics. More people across the country have voted for our campaign. More people have voted for us than for any candidate in the history of presidential primaries.
Yet the latest result hasn't narrowed the gap which Obama enjoys in the count of delegates to the party's nominating convention. And by Tuesday, when the last two states vote, Clinton will be out of running room. That's when Barack Obama is expected to declare that he has the support of an unbeatable number of all the delegates to the August convention, though he's still likely to be a few votes short of an outright majority. So the senator from Chicago will still need the votes of so-called superdelegates, about 200 still uncommitted party leaders who can vote for whoever they choose.
The superdelegates have continued to come to the side of Barack Obama. They have last week, the week before, the week that Clinton wins a primary, they still come to the side of Barack Obama.
Despite winning fewer convention delegates, Clinton is far from conceding the nomination contest. Since March, she has won around 500,000 more popular votes than Obama, and she argues that in the general election against Republican John McCain, she is the better bet.
We are winning these votes in swing states and among the very swing voters that Democrats must win to take back the White House.
Clinton is still waging a fight for delegates from Florida and Michigan, both of which she won. Those key states broke party rules by holding their elections early and faced having their votes disqualified. On Saturday, though, a compromise was agreed to count half the votes in each state. That's not as much as Clinton wanted, and her campaign may appeal the ruling and take the argument to the convention in August. But within the party leadership, there's a feeling that enough is enough. Officials worry that the longer it takes to choose a nominee, the harder it will be to beat Republican McCain.
This needs to end in the month of June. We don't want to go to the convention, have a big fight at the convention, and lose the presidency.
For the Republicans, the battle between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama can't last long enough. National polls still show either Obama or Clinton narrowly ahead of McCain, but that could change if the Democrats can't even choose a candidate. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, joining our discussion are our guests here in Doha, Scott Bates, former Secretary of State of Virginia and Democratic strategist. In Washington, D.C., Maya Rockeymoore, policy analyst and commentator. And in London, James Boys, Assistant Professor of International Political Studies at the American International University in Richmond. Welcome to the program. Mr. Boys, do you think that Hillary Clinton's victory in Puerto Rico was a hollow victory?
I think, unfortunately, it appears now for the Clinton campaign to be that classic tale of too little, too late. Hillary Clinton entered this campaign season very much as the candidate to beat. It was hers to lose, if you will. And alas, at this late stage, it appears that she is on the verge of doing just that, of having snatched defeat from the jaws of success, so to speak.
Scott Bates, obviously Hillary Clinton would be hoping that it's not too little, too late. Do you think that she can convince party elders to ignore the delegate race and focus on the popular vote, or is that wishful thinking?
I think at this point in time, it might be wishful thinking. She has a very compelling argument, which when you look at states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, very major states that we need to be competitive in, Barack Obama was losing rural counties 2-to-1 all over. He has the same demographic support as Mike Dukakis did in 1988, and this should absolutely trouble Democratic strategists and those superdelegates. However, you know, his narrative and he as a candidate represents something very, very powerful indeed, and I think he's won the hearts of the superdelegates.
Maya Rockeymoore, do you agree that Hillary Clinton has a very compelling argument?
I actually do not agree. Everyone is saying that she's being disingenuous, actually, with her argument that she's won the popular vote. The only way that you can actually get to that notion is by not counting the uncommitted votes that were cast in the state of Michigan and counting all of the votes in the state of Michigan for her. Many people say that that is absolutely a disingenuous argument. Not only that, but it's the pledged delegates that count. Certainly the popular vote matters, but that then determines the amount of pledged delegates you get. And there is no question at this point that Barack Obama is leading in the pledged delegates. He is only 45 delegates away from winning this nomination. So Hillary Clinton is actually being quite disingenuous with her argument about winning the popular vote. There are some that are actually saying that that argument is quite untruthful.
Ms. Rockeymoore, we heard that recent quote from Obama in the piece that led up to this discussion. Quote, "She's going to be a great asset when we go into November to make sure that we defeat the Republicans. That I can promise you." Wouldn't you agree at least that some might interpret that as quite condescending from Obama?
Actually, I wouldn't say that. I mean, Hillary Clinton is a formidable opponent. As you can see, she goes through and she fights hard. And certainly there are demographics out there that very much find her an attractive candidate. And they are very much her supporters to the very end. So Barack Obama will actually need the support of Hillary Clinton because she has the ability in terms of her currency with the women's vote, certainly with lower income Americans. She has currency that Barack Obama will need in the general election, and he is certainly counting on her to come around to support him for the nomination.
Scott Bates, is there a great sense of bitterness amongst Clinton supporters regarding Florida and Michigan and those delegates who'd only have half their votes counted?
Well, it's been a hard-fought campaign, and there's no doubt that die-hard Clinton supporters are going to be upset yet at the end of the day. Her contributors, who are going to be very important to have a Democratic win, and her supporters amongst women, I think they're going to rally back generally to the Democratic cause. The bigger question that should be of concern to the Obama campaign is some of the people voting for Clinton may not even really like her that much anyway. I think, I have a bad feeling that they just didn't want to vote for Barack Obama. And again, I'm thinking about some of the rural counties in real blue-collar states. I worked for the first African-American governor, and in 1989, when he won, barely, the Washington Post came out with a poll that said we were ahead by 14% with a week to go. We won by 10,000 votes. So there's something afoot here, which is that some people aren't going to be entirely truthful about their support for Barack Obama for a lot of reasons.
Ms. Rockeymoore, would you concur? Do you feel that there are some who would vote for anyone but an African American?
I think certainly in any race there are some people that have certain biases and they would choose not to vote for someone simply because he's an African American. On the flip side of the coin, there are some people that would choose not to vote for Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. So certainly people have biases in this nation. But I think that it's important and instructive to realize that the vast number of Democratic people who have come out to vote in this election cycle has, I think that in the general election, may more than offset any of those naysayers, so to speak, who wouldn't want to vote for Barack Obama simply because of his race. So I think that we need to remember in some states the number of votes that Barack Obama actually lost by was more than the number of votes than the Republican candidate John McCain actually won by, which means that the Democratic Party is actually suffering from an embarrassment of riches. They have managed, because of the historic nature of this campaign, they have managed to increase turnout to such high levels that in November, when November comes around, it's likely that a significant number are going to go for the Democratic candidate regardless. And those who don't want to vote for Barack Obama, certainly the numbers will offset perhaps those numbers.
Well, an embarrassment of riches it may be, but James Boyes in London, don't you feel that John McCain must be chuckling at this fractured opposition?
I would imagine he would be. The longer this goes on, of course, the only person who can possibly benefit is Senator McCain. He recently put his medical records out in an attempt to get those materials out very early, I think. He's clearly going to be hit on his health issues, I think, whoever the candidate is, particularly if it is Barack Obama, someone who very much personifies youthful vitality and what the Kennedys used to call vigor. At the moment, of course, it's just very much who's going to win. Is it going to be Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton? It's looking increasingly like Barack Obama. And to return to an earlier question, I do believe the reason that he is talking about the role of Hillary Clinton in the coming campaign is very much in an attempt to try and paint her into a corner. It was seen that in 2004 she wasn't particularly enthusiastic for a Kerry victory, in the hope that Kerry would stumble and her time would come in this electoral cycle. Of course, if Obama does become the candidate and he fails to win the presidency, she can clearly claim a clear mandate potentially for a potential run 4 years from now.
Mr. Bates, in Doha, something that came to mind. Do you think that Hillary Clinton's comments recently invoking the Robert Kennedy assassination might have damaged her campaign irreparably?
Well, I think it was a really terrible comment to make in a lot of ways. Either it was stupid or I don't know what, she just wasn't thinking at the moment. Sure, it was bad because for 2 days the coverage was about that comment, and I'm sure it was entirely innocent and misspoken, and if it, but even so, it appeared, it knocked her off it put her on the headlines, but in a bad way. So that definitely broke her stride, there's no doubt about it.
All right, stay with us. We'll talk more about this heated race when we come back after the break.